For decades, Chicago politics has seen its fair and generous share of corruption in the alderman's office and city council. Since 1972, at least 37 aldermen have either pleaded guilty or been convicted of crimes related to official duties. Former 20th Ward Alderman 𝗥𝗘𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗨𝗠 was sentenced to 1 year in prison in 2019 for using his ward charity for personal expenses like paying for gambling trips and fancy meals. 𝗥𝗘𝗘𝗦𝗢𝗧 served the 29th Ward and pleaded guilty to bribery and tax charges in a zoning case. And in 2008, former 20th Ward Alder Arenda Troutman pleaded guilty to fraud in admitting she solicited donations from developers seeking to do business. Back in 2013, Sandy Jackson pleaded guilty to filing false income tax returns. The former 7th Ward Alder was accused of involvement in most of her well-known husband, U.S. Representative Jesse Jackson Jr.'s illegal spending. In 2022, then 22nd Ward Alderman Ricardo Munoz pleaded guilty to wire fraud and money laundering tied to a political campaign fund. He got 13 months in federal prison. Even the governor's office has been hit by legal drama. Democratic Governor Rod Blagojevich was impeached and removed from office on federal charges of public corruption.
Oh, Chicago, Illinois, got some bribery. You've got politicians. You've got dirty politics, don't you? And here we've got the dictator of Dalton. She's got her own sets of issues. And one of them we're going to talk about today specifically. And one kind of branches into a number. So pay attention. We've got all kinds of deets going on here, right? So the South Suburb paid more than $200,000 to 𝗥𝗘𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗨𝗠 Construction, Oak Construction, a Summit business whose president, Alex Nof, awaits sentencing after pleading guilty in January to bribing a Cook County Assessor's Office employee for property tax breaks. There's always shenanigans going on here, isn't there? Even in a small village like Dalton and Township of Thornton, they've just got shenanigans left and right. A couple of them in this story, they're pretty epic. At the urging of Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the village of Dalton paid a Summit construction company that's been linked to multiple corruption investigations more than $200,000 for no bid, no contract work, replacing senior homeowners' roofs and windows. So they didn't have to give a bid. They just had to go out there and get the work done. And there was no contract for them to get the work done between them and the homeowner or them and the village. Now, federal investigators are seeking records from Dalton officials about the construction work by Oak Construction, owned by Alex Nof. He's the dude that his family, had a little with the taxes, and he tried to bribe officials. His family was a longtime owner of a restaurant in Dalton, and the Chicago Sun-Times has reported that his late father, Boris Nof, engaged in a scheme to clear hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid taxes from properties the family owned in the suburb. What did that look like? Well, that looked like this. Property tax shell game. Boris, suburban businessman linked to Alderman Carrie Austin and a federal investigation, didn't pay taxes on properties for years, then bought up $861,000 of their own tax debts for $26,000. Let's make a deal. Now, if you had taxes of $861 and you could work that down to $26K, yeah, I mean, it's not legal. It's not exactly legal. You have to bribe somebody to do it. But hey, that's something else. Yeah, it's something else that you can go to prison for. So Alex Nof, who is Oak's president, awaits sentencing after pleading guilty in January to bribing a Cook County Assessor's Office for property tax breaks. His late father, Boris, was implicated in a home renovation bribery scheme involving former Chicago Alderman Carrie Austin, and was subpoenaed as part of the federal investigation of Austin in 2019. You've just got corruption going left and right here, right? You've just got a system that is rife with corruption. An attorney for Alex declined to comment. Austin has denied any wrongdoing. I am 100% innocent. I am innocent. Well, we got a video of here. You talking about I am still innocent. Federal subpoenas were issued this spring to the village of Dalton and to Thornton Township, where Henyard is the township supervisor, according to records that show Oak was named in the Dalton subpoena. So they are part of an ongoing federal investigation into Henyard Dolton's self-styled supermayor, the dictator of Dalton, Tahoe Tiff, as some of us know, the supermayor. Dozens of businesses, government employees, political figures, and members of Henyard's inner circle are named in the subpoenas, which also seek spending records from multiple trips, including one in October of 2022, that Henyard and supporters of her not-for-profit cancer foundation took to Springfield to promote a breast cancer bill. They were doing a 10-day walkathon, and they basically billed all of the expenses. Yeah. They billed it to an entity they shouldn't have. And I believe in that case, it was the Township of Thornton, because the village of Dalton is bankrupt. They do not have any money in their budget. They are somewhere $4, $5, $7 million in debt, and they do not have positive cash flow moving forward. So if you're going to bill, an entity that you shouldn't, at least bill one and, take the money from one that's solvent for the moment. The bill hadn't been filed, though, and the Illinois legislature wasn't in session. The Illinois Answers Project and Chicago Vox 32 have reported, among other names in the subpoenas, Henyard's not-for-profit, the Tiffany Cares Foundation, which she financed using township money, and says help people with cancer. All right. Yeah. But have you helped anybody with cancer? Because all I've heard is people saying, I got cancer and I could have used some of that money. You didn't give it to us. Who'd you give it to? Well, the Illinois Attorney General's office is investigating the foundation, which has been barred from fundraising after failing to submit required documentation. So it's not even a legit charity, right? And when Tiff was confronted on this issue, she just basically told Dane Placco that I'm just the face of the foundation. I don't know anything about it. Just like our Stan Brown was, Stan Brown? Yeah. Just riding a bike. Yeah, I was on that trip. Yeah, I was on that fundraising deal, but man, I was just riding a bike. Okay, Stan. All right. 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗙 Bentonville businessman who built the Township $17K for 1,000 t-shirts and sweatshirts ahead of the trip to Springfield. The federal subpoena asked for records regarding the t-shirt invoice submitted by Aldeco's company. The invoice came one day after the paperwork creating Henyard's foundation was submitted to the state. Messages left for Aldeco weren't returned. So she gets the foundation up and running. She bills the township $17,000 for 1,000 t-shirts. I mean, she's just basically milking every system that she touches. Kamal Woods, who is Henyard's boyfriend, who is married, but yeah, that's we can't be moral judgment of character here. Kamal Woods, who is married to somebody other than Tiffany Henyard, but is Henyard's boyfriend, is identified in divorce records as Henyard's boyfriend, works for Henyard in the township government, and is the director of her foundation. He might be divorced now. Maybe he's divorced. I haven't followed up on that. Does anybody know? Let me know in the comments. Or, yeah, he's hanging out. He's a married guy hanging out with somebody else. It's okay. It's all right. It's a fluid situation. Woods is paid a highly lucrative salary in excess of $100,000 per year by the township, in addition to his side gig providing government security. It's according to his divorce case. That pesky divorce case, that pesky ex-wife, bringing financial details up. Keith Freeman, who was first registered agent for Henyard's Foundation as the village manager and Henyard's paid senior advisor for the township, Freeman has pleaded not guilty after being charged with bankruptcy fraud. He didn't disclose the money he was getting from the village of Dalton or the Thornton Township and a Northfield company that leases vehicles to low-income municipalities at high rates. Remember the Northfield. Michael Casper, the election attorney for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan, who helped Henyard defeat a recall effort in 2022. He's being looked into. Former Calumet City Mayor Jerry Genova is also being looked into, and he was sentenced in 2002 to 5 years in prison on corruption charges and worked on a campaign for Henyard's slate of candidates in 2023. So you've just got a partridge in a pear tree of people involved with criminal activity or charges They're all in on this with Tiff, with the dictator of Dalton. The Nitchoffs were the longtime owners and operators of Olivia's restaurant in Dalton, now under new ownership. So in 2019, the Sun-Times came up with this investigation. They found that the Nitchoffs avoided paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in property taxes by not paying for them and then buying the tax delinquent properties back through shell companies for a fraction of the tax debt through Cook County scavenger or tax sales. Creative? Yes. Legal? No. No, not so much. Nitchoff's businesses gave Henyard's campaign $2,000 in February 2022 and $5,000 4 months later. Okay. All right. So we got the fraudsters working with Henyard and donating money there. All right. All right. The latter contribution, the $5,000, came days after Oak first billed the village for no bid, no contract residential construction at several dozen homes that totaled $205,000. A tab the village paid using federal COVID-19 grant money. Didn't even use their own funds. Hey, let's put some roofs on these houses over here. Dalton's village board didn't authorize the work. Okay, no authorization here. And at first refused to pay. Hell no, we're not paying for that. We didn't authorize that. Oak Construction Company that sent letters to the senior homeowners, the people in the homes who had the work done, even though there's no contract with anybody, there's no bid. They just came in, did the work, and then billed afterwards. That's pleasant. They sent letters to the senior homeowners threatening to place liens against their homes. Could you imagine getting a notice? Hey, we need you to pay this bill. And if you don't pay, we're going to lien your home. Because they can do that legally. But if you don't have a contract, yeah, that gets a little tricky, right? It's a little tricky. I'm really confused right now, Rose Rice, one of the residents, said in an email to village officials. First of all, I didn't sign any papers or agreement with this company. So why is this lien against my property and why is my name on this document? This is asinine. Rose, I would have to agree with you. Yeah, it makes no sense, does it? No sense at all. At a December 2022 village board meeting, John Bodendorfer, Oak's construction manager, apologized, saying the letter should have gone to the mayor and the village board, seeking payment for the work that we completed for the homeowners. How does that go out? Like literally, how does that go out? Hey, just send out those letters. Yeah, let's get somebody to pay. At the same meeting, village trustees, a majority who oppose Henyard, asked how she picked up the contractor. How'd you pick this contractor? I mean, we don't know anything about them. If you don't get a bid, you get contractors who donate to her campaign fund, said then village trustee Edward Steve. That's reality because the mayor should not have all the power to pick the contractors, pick who she wants, and then she goes to them for campaign donations. Oh, but that is what's happening in Dalton. That is exactly what's happening in Dalton. And then the residents just got a deal. Henyard said she announced at an earlier board meeting that contractors were needed for the work and that Oak signed up. Here is how here's how the dictator of Dalton, the super mayor, here's how she justifies these contractors coming in and doing the work with no contract, no bid, no nothing. Just showing up one day. Got our hammer. We got our nails. We got some wood. We're going to redo the roof and then we're going to put shingles on it. So here's Henyard. I don't go pick people. Okay. Maybe you should. Maybe you should actually have an approach to having work done for the village with the bid. And maybe you analyze the bids and look at them and see kind of, how it's going to go. That's called responsible. That's what responsible people do. But no, we're doing shenanigans. That's what we're doing. People come to the village. So just random people come to the village. They apply. Hey, yo, I can get the roof done. And then they want to do it. Well, of course they want to do it. They want to bill you. It's all about the money, right? And then they do the work. Okay. All right. People come to the village. They apply. They want to do it. And then they do the work. Is that really how this runs? It appears so. So there's no authorization in there. There's no vetting. There's no looking at anything. I guess not. I could care less who does it as long as the resident gets the service. Well, without looking into who you're dealing with, how do you know that the residents are going to get the service that they need? How do you know? You don't. That's the answer. You don't. If it's something as similar as a power washing job, something like that, but a couple $100,000 for roofs, come on now. You know what? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Because the cost of each job didn't exceed $5,000, Henyard said the village wasn't required to seek other proposals. But you probably should have, and now you're figuring that out. Oh, yeah, maybe we should have. And no contract? No contract. I'm asking again for the board to make them whole. Pay them what's owed them so that they can complete the process, Henyard said. Because she's got buddies that are running the construction company, and she would very much like for them to continue donating to TIF Incorporated. After trustee Jason House asked for a copy of Oak's contract and its customers, Henyard said, "For the record, there is no contract. No one has a contract." What world do you live in where there's no contract? I mean, you're going to pay based on receiving XYZ and you have zero contract. What was the verbal agreement? Repair one roof and it's going to cost $4,500. I mean, was that how it went? Hey, best of luck to you. I hope you get all those, dozen homes done or whatever it was. Actually, if it's $200K and it's less than $5 a pop, yeah, like 40 homes, right? Something like that. 20 to 500. Yeah, something like that, right? Records show the village of Dalton paid Oak Construction $14,500 to build a fence around property that became a publicly owned ice rink that Henyard's campaign used for a campaign event without paying for it. Oof, we have just got shenanigans left and right. Freeman, who was indicted in April for bankruptcy fraud, accused of underreporting years of income in a bankruptcy filing earlier this year, falsely reporting that his 2023 income was $99,000 when it was 195. And he's going through bankruptcy and he didn't think they'd find out. Well, just kind of put this down on this little piece of paper here and we'll see if nobody's looking, if anybody's looking. He also allegedly failed to report that the village of Robbins, where he formerly was village manager, had a claim against him because he had been paid about $90,000 in excess of his authorized salary. Now, Keith Freeman, he is good friends with Tiff, Dolton, dictator of Dalton, right? This is so shady. This is so corrupt. According to the indictment, a Northfield company, remember I said to remember that uses high interest loans to sell firefighting vehicles and other municipal equipment, paid him $24,500 in consulting fees from December 2021 through January 2022. Income he didn't list in his bankruptcy filing. Not good. The subpoenas issued to Dalton and Thornton Township sought records related to first government lease of Northfield and its president, Paul Graver. Records show that in 1992, the SEC fined Graver $50K over 3 schemes to fraudulently induce the purchase or sale of securities. And then now he's leasing vehicles, including the police cars, to the village of Dalton. Records show the village of Dalton leased a 2023 Chevrolet Tahoe. This is Tiff's Tahoe Tiff, from the company for 5 years for a total of $149,000. You get the vehicle for 5 years, $149,000, and $56K of that was for loan and interest costs because they didn't require board authorization. Tiff could just go there, skirt all of the certifications for approval from the board, and just get the car and just pay massive interest and loan fees, $56,000 exactly, without board approval. And that's what she did. Graver didn't return messages seeking comment. Shocking, right? The whole thing is just so full of corruption. I mean, everywhere you turn in this storyline, you are bumping into just bribery, corruption, coercion, you name it. It's there. Even the printing up of the t-shirts and I think it was sweatshirts I mean, she didn't use her own funds. She basically had the township pay for all of that. So, it's one thing to take funds from different accounts that are within your own control. It's a whole nother thing to take funds from a village or the township, taking money from the township to go do your fundraiser for your own personal charity. Yeah, that's no good. You can't commingle any of that. And yet that's exactly what TIF has done. And that's exactly what the FBI is now probing. They're doing a little probe action. They have been since, I think, November. And who knows when the FBI probe is going to come up with some answers. And so that's why the village of Dalton has hired former mayor Lori Lightfoot, who some of you refer to as Beetlejuice, to come in and do her own investigation for the board. Because we don't know how long it's going to take for the FBI. It could be a couple of months more. It could be a couple of years more. We don't know. They're going through everything with a fine-tooth comb at this point in time. But this article here from the Chicago Times, this kind of fills out how the corruption goes. This person tied to this person here, this person tied to this person here, and they all have some kind of record, right? And this whole no bid, no contract thing, that's not normal. That is not normal. Even in a small village, that's not normal. There has to be some sort of accountability. But in TIF's world, there isn't, because you just hire somebody who wants to do the job, and then you just pay them whenever they say it's done, because you have no contract that outlines what the services were that you paid for. Interesting. Yeah. I think the FBI probe could come up with some really good stuff in addition to what we're seeing here, in addition to what we've heard about. I mean, it has gotten so bad for the super mayor that you've got social media entities, you've got news stations suing Village of Dalton because they haven't been handing out, I think it was the Village of Dalton, or maybe it could have been the Township of Thornton, for not giving out Freedom of Information Acts. They've requested them months and months and months and months ago. And, Village of Dalton and Township of Thornton have had so many Freedom of Information Acts requested of them. Hey, we'd like to see, cost figures on this. We'd like to see this. We'd like to see this. That they basically just, we're not going to send those out, even though it's the law. We're not going to send them out. So one of the local affiliates had to sue to get this information. Hey, we're going to sue you. Maybe this lawsuit will wake you up. It'll make you just kind of like, okay, yeah, here we go. All right. So one last thing. Beleaguered Dalton mayor hit with yet another lawsuit. Got another lawsuit. And you know what? I'll just tell you about it for 1 second. So one of the guys on the Thornton maintenance, the maintenance manager for Thornton, when TIF decided they wanted to go with a different attorney, she was basically trying to get together support for, going away from one attorney, going to a different attorney. And he said no. The Thornton maintenance manager, he said no. And then she fired him. She fired him because he wouldn't do what she said. So now TIF is being hit with a lawsuit. It's a wrongful termination lawsuit. So that just came to light yesterday. One more thing. Pile it on the super mayor. She's a super mayor. She can handle it. We'll see, right? Yeah. So you've just got all these lawsuits flying back and forth, all these allegations of corruption, all these allegations of basically bribery, donations here, taking funds from there, paying for this, paying for that. We haven't even talked about Vegas. We haven't even talked about the BMW that's out there somewhere. Somebody's driving it. It's within TIF's control. Lot of confusing stuff, right? There's zero transparency. And that's what the residents of Dalton, the residents of Township of Thornton, that's what they're looking for. Hey, we'd like a little more information. We'd like to see a contract on all those roofs. Yep, there isn't one. Yeah, seems to be about par for the course, doesn't it? All right, that's it for me on this one. Thanks again for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.